everybody, it's Percy Hampton with Handy Electrician. I got an emergency service call today, a troubleshooting issue. One of my customers, she was complaining about power going out on half of her house and not the other half. My first thought is that she lost a leg of power. I recommended first that she call Georgia Power, have them check their side of the electrical service, and they did, and everything was good. So I'm gonna take you through what my troubleshooting process, how I'm gonna figure out whether I'm gonna run a new line, whether I'm gonna replace the breaker, or whether I'm gonna replace the meter socket. Percy Hampton, Handy Electrician. So I had to bring in some of my own tools, supplies, materials that I like to have on hand, so I don't have to run back and forth to the supply house. All right, so this is just my miscellaneous toolbox. If you know a good electrician, they don't throw anything away. I'm one of those. I don't throw anything away because I don't want to be running back and forth to the supply house to get something that I could have saved from a previous job. This is a white suit, just in case I have to cut drywall to rerun the line. I want to be covered up. I already took off the panel cover for the house. I took off the meter socket cover. This is one of those old school meter sockets. When I see these type of covers built in the brick like this house is, I know it's 50 to 75 years old. I got mosquito spray because it's kind of going to be some outside work possibly. So mosquitoes like my blood, so I always have mosquito spray. Measuring tape, I measured how far over the surface is. It's on the opposite side of this wall, so that when I have to cut the drywall out to take the old line out, if needed, I'll be able to pinpoint where it is, so I'm not just cutting random holes into people's house. I wrote the measurements down so that, you know, make it all simple for me. I brought in my tools, brought in my ratchet set. I got my Dremel tool bits. I got my Dremel tool, like an oscillator tool that cuts the drywall. So I even got the service wire. I got a 2-watt 4-wire, even though it's a 2-watt 3-wire, just in case she wants to upgrade the meter socket in the future. I'm gonna run a 2-watt 4-wire. That way it's already in place, so when she wants to upgrade that meter socket, if she ever wants to. So this is the service wire that I'm gonna use. It's a 2-watt. It has 2 hots, a neutral, and a ground. So it's 2-watt, 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 and then the ground. That way, you know, most new houses are wired for a 4-wire system. This is an older house. It's a 3-wire system, but we're gonna set her up to be ready when she's ready to upgrade her meter socket. Percy Hampton, Handy Electrician. So I got my gloves. I got my my Allen wrench, my insulated Allen wrench. What I'm gonna do first is so when I came by yesterday to check the, I ohmed it out, and one of the hots were ohming out with the neutral. So the hots and neutrals are never supposed to ohm out, meaning they're connected. That tells me something is touching. So I'm gonna use my insulated Allen wrench and my gloves to unhook the 2 hots and the neutral on both ends, and I'll test continuity with my meter to see if it's still showing continuity when it's not connected to anything. If it's still showing continuity, then that tells me I need to rerun the wire. If it's not showing continuity, then it could possibly be the breaker or the panel. It's an issue somewhere else. So this is just the process we're going through. Safety first. Always have some gloves, insulated tools when working in the panel, maybe some flash gear if you want to go to that level. Percy Hampton, Handy Electrician. All right, I showed you the panel. I showed you my materials. Now I'm gonna show you the meter socket, where part of the troubleshooting will begin. Follow me. Now that I got the mosquito spray on me, I feel safe from the mosquitoes. We are at the meter socket. This is one of the old school meter sockets. When they build them in the brick like this, I know this house is at least 50. This is at least a 50-year-old service. So Georgia Power already checked their side of it. Everything is good on their end. So now I'm gonna check the customer side of it. So I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna obtain the safe way to do that. I wouldn't recommend it for you guys, but I do it all the time. Is I'm gonna pull the meter and I'm gonna disconnect from Georgia Power service, so the load side won't be energized, and I'm gonna disconnect it on this end, and I'm gonna disconnect it disconnected at the electrical panel so I can ohm it out to see if any of the wires are touching, and that'll tell me if I need to rerun the wire. Percy Hampton. Alright, so I'm about to pull this meter. I would not recommend this for anybody, but I do what I need to do to take care of my customers. So this is Georgia Power's meter. You gotta be careful with it. You gotta be careful with the jaws. You don't want to damage the jaws. What I always do is I pull the top out first. That'll disconnect it from Georgia Power side, and then I'll just take it from the load side. There we go. Disconnected. If you ever look at it, it's got line side, so you don't ever put it in upside down. Line side is the main power coming from Georgia Power. I got my stick tester. Just one of the ways I check. So the bottom side is dead. That tells me that's the low side. Top side still hot. That's Georgia Power side. I recommend put a piece of cardboard over these jaws and over those lugs. That way nothing inadvertently touches those hot wires. But that's the hot side. This is the low side. It's dead now. I'm gonna disconnect it. Another way to check, you get you a multimeter and check the voltage on it. Put it on AC. Go across each jaw. I'm getting 0. Go across the neutral in a jaw. Still make sure you're getting 0. Yep. Go across the other jaw. Make sure you're getting 0. So now I can disconnect this part and perform my troubleshooting. I'm gonna disconnect this on this side, and I'm gonna disconnect it at the panel. This wire is reading like something is like a hot wire. The B phase is touching the neutral. So that's why I'm going through this process. I got a ratchet set. I'm find the right size ratchet, and I'll go ahead and disconnect it. That's the size ratchet right there. It's always good to have a good ratchet set handy. I need to get an insulated one. Anybody know of an insulated ratchet set? Shoot it to me. Let me know. I would love it. Righty tighty, lefty loosey. It's kind of tight. You got to be careful working in these, but you got to do what you got to do. Some more tools from the inside. Got me a flathead to undo that neutral. Let's see what we got here. I want to disconnect it from the meter socket to make sure, so I can rule out the meter socket. I'm just trying to play Sherlock Holmes here. Figure out ways, easy ways to troubleshoot this stuff. I'm gonna totally disconnect, get them separate from the panel on both ends. And like I say, I'll test continuity. This is A phase. This is the neutral, this is B phase. So I'm gonna test the continuity. I'll do it now. Good. You gotta know your meter. You gotta know how it works. When you test continuity, that means that the wire is touching. It'll usually beep. That means it's touching. So if I'm gonna touch these two together, these two should not read continuity. It's not reading continuity right now. Is reading continuity with this one. So A phase and the neutral are reading continuity. I still want to disconnect it from the panel to triple check before I cut drywall, because I hate to cut drywall because I don't repair it. but you shouldn't hear that beep between the A phase and your neutral. Percy Hampton, the electrician. Alright, so we're inside the house, we're at the panel. We pulled the meter, it's no power on the house, but you still want to double check. I like these little Klein stick testers. Test everything, make sure you don't see red, all I see is green. Then you want to double check with your multimeter. Got an ideal multimeter, I like those, pretty good. Go across the A phase and the neutral, 0. B phase and the neutral, 0. We should be good to go. I'm looking at how this neutral wire is kind of touching the back of this black wire. It's kind of a little longer than it should be. That could be an issue too. So I got my insulated Allen. Disconnect these guys, and we're gonna test continuity on both ends. See what we got. See if we really need to replace all these wires. Never take that screw out if you can help it. Sometimes it's hard to get back in. Oh man, that's one leg. I'm gonna take the neutral out. And you're always supposed to use an oxidizing solution on it. We call it no locks, so that whenever, just like I had to disconnect this, I could tell it had no locks on it, so it wasn't rusted, it wasn't seized. I was able to disconnect it. So when I was out at the meter socket, I was reading continuity between the neutral and A phase. I'm gonna read it on this side, see what we got. This is gonna tell me if I need to replace the wire. I always do my own little tests by touching the leads together to see if my meter rings. I know my meter, you should know yours. Nothing. Nothing. So it's not the wire. It would be ringing if it was the wire. So I brought an extra panel, and I may just swap out the breaker if it's a good match, if it's a perfect match, but it's not connected on either end, and it's not reading, it's not ringing. So that tells me, that saves me from cutting into this people's drywall. You want to triple check before you cut somebody's drywall. That was the original plan, but I wanted to come back and do some further investigation, but it's not ringing. So that tells me it's ringing here. The problem is here. It's the main breaker or the whole panel. I got a panel just in case. So that's how you troubleshoot. And I saved myself and the customer money from not having to cut the drywall just by going the extra step and triple checking everything. So we're gonna leave everything disconnected for now, but I need to disconnect this this breaker to see why it's ringing. I believe it's the breaker, because the lady's power, it goes in and out. The breakers and all that. It could be the bus bars too, but I'm gonna swap out this breaker first. Percy Hampton, handy electrician. Replace it. So what I'm gonna probably do, I don't know if it's the same breaker, but I want to replace this whole breaker lug mechanism and swap it out instead of swapping out the panel. I could, but then I have to feed all those circuits in. It'd be a lot of work. Might be easier to do that, but I'm gonna try to just swap out the main breaker lug assembly first. Let me see if I got the right parts for it. Let me grab my ratchet set, and we'll grab some Allen wrenches. What I want to talk about is taking the time to thoroughly troubleshoot an electrical issue. I was prepared to rerun her service wire from the meter socket to the panel. That would have meant me cutting out drywall, running it. You know, sometimes the studs go this way or they go this way, but I would have had to cut, pull out the old service, rerun the new service through those same holes, and imagine doing all that and the problem still persisted. You know, that would make you look super incompetent. So you gotta triple check everything when it comes to this service work, especially before you cut drywall, because once you cut drywall, it'll never look the same. You know what I mean? You'll always know that it was a cut there. You know what I mean? So you want to save yourself time and resources. You want to save your customers time. They got things to do and they don't want you to just be guessing at what's going on. So taking the time to thoroughly troubleshoot the situation is mandatory. I mean, it's always a good thing. So I'm gonna just swap out the whole panel. It's gonna be still a lot of work, but at the same time, we're gonna kill the issue. My customer will be able to go on with her life. She won't have to worry about a new panel. She won't have to worry about power going out anymore. Now she could probably sleep better at night, knowing that we figured out why power was going in and out of her house. So basically, she was losing a leg of power, and it's going on in her breaker mechanism. So I was gonna swap the breaker out, but because it has like one of those security star bits, and I'm just gonna swap out the whole panel. Percy Hampton, the electrician.